2 cents short of $1, the show where we give our 2 cents and keep it 100. We're your host. That's Motiz, and I'm Rue. Today, what I want to talk about is the recap of the Serhii Bohachuk versus Vergil Ortiz fight. Very controversial fight. I hate to overuse this term because it seems like a term that just is forever out there. Some people are saying it's a robbery. Some people are saying, Vergil justifyingly won. I think one person on record saying Vergil won was actually Tim Tszyu, the guy who was supposed to fight Vergil. But, when you watch that fight of the year candidate, just what was your reaction to the fight itself and then the outcome of the fight?
So watching the fight, and I was telling you too, I didn't know much about Bohachuk. I'm going to call him B for the sake of this video. So I didn't know much about him. I thought, from the clips that I did see or looked up about him, he was a kind of a straightforward fighter, right? Tailor-made for a fighter like Vergil Ortiz. I knew it was going to be like a firefight. And long and behold, it definitely was a firefight. I was just surprised at how durable he was, how durable B was for the fight. And he was game, man. He's tough. He was taking everything Vergil had and was just dishing it out. He got hurt a couple of times. He even, knocked down Vergil a couple of times as well. He exceeded my expectations, and it further cements to me the Ukrainian boxers, right? How unique they are stylistically. Not all of them fight in that bouncing style, but they're just in their own right. They're always competitive for the most part. So the outcome, I'm not gonna lie, I personally think it is a robbery. I think it's a robbery. I don't think Vergil Ortiz won that fight. And I'm big on Vergil, bro, but I just gotta keep it 1,000. He did not win that fight, man. He absolutely did not win that fight. At most, you can call it as a draw. You know, but in my honest opinion, I believe it was a clear robbery.
Yeah, that was an amazing fight. I was kind of telling you that's kind of like my dream fight, right? I don't get me wrong, I love slick boxers and all that, the hit and don't get hit stuff. But bro, gloves up, toe to toe. We're gonna see who's the better man, me or you. Let's just do it. You know what I mean? That's just like my dream fight. You know what I mean? But it was an amazing fight of the year candidate. Bohachuk, different than a lot of other Ukrainians, where he's not utilizing a bunch of movement, right?
Right.
He's tough guy coming forward. He gave Vergil everything that Vergil could handle. Put Vergil down twice, right? Once in the first round, I think second time in the 8th round.
Yeah.
And bro, I gotta say, man, as excited as I was a bit deflated by the outcome. And I just think with the knockdowns, like you said, there's no way that Vergil won, right? Maybe a draw. I think maybe I found here's the thing. If it was no knockdowns, I think I would have had 7 rounds to 5 for Vergil, maybe. Even if you had 8-4 rounds for Vergil, right? Those 2 knockdowns, you cannot say he won the round. And don't get me wrong, I think in the 8th round, he fought his way back. In the first round, he was probably winning prior to the knockdown. But so even if you don't score them 10-8 rounds, you got to at least say 9-8 in Bohachuk's favor. You know what I mean? So I just don't see a way that Vergil won if you sit there and do the math and tally up the points, unless you're telling me he won 9 rounds out of that fight, which he just did not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he only basically the judges scored it in a way where the only rounds he won was the 2 knockdowns. That was literally it. He didn't win 2 rounds after that.
Yeah,
he probably won maybe 1 more round is what they're giving him.
Right.
One thing I noticed too, which was kind of weird in the fight, I felt like Vergil was really hurting him, right? More than, although he was the one getting dropped or knocked down, it just seemed like Vergil was throwing more of the blitzing, punishing punches. I felt like, but and the nuance between punch and power, right? Based off that fight, who would you say was the bigger puncher?
So I do think Vergil is the bigger puncher, but I'll say this: I feel like Bohachuk. So Vergil felt like he had 2 gears, right? It was like, okay, he was hitting you. Let's say he's at 60 here, right? And then it's like, but Bohachuk kept hitting him with 80s, boom, 80s. You kept seeing Vergil's head snap back, and I think from there Vergil will go from 60 to 100. right? But it
Mhm.
was so inconsistent and wavering, right? It was like 60, 100. I got to get mine back. When Boachuk's was just constantly 80s, right? Which is respectable. It's not 100, but it's respectable if you get what I'm saying. You kept seeing Virgil's head get snapped back. So I think because Boachuk's strength and power was just consistent throughout the whole fight, you kind of seen Virgil switch gears. Even though I do think Virgil's the bigger puncher, but I think that's why it was like even more exemplified, right? I think Boachuk was just consistent the whole fight. It's coming forward to you, same gears, same power. And a couple of times I feel like, he maybe, I think Virgil hurt him more, but he definitely made Virgil respect his power as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He had Virgil boxing. Like,
Mhm.
like Virgil stopped, the bruising, was like, you know what, I need to box this guy. And
Mhm.
that said a lot,
Yeah,
that said a lot.
yeah. And I mean, his trainer was pretty upset, his promoter was pretty upset, but man, I mean, like us as the fans, like if it was like if we just watch fights not for the outcome, but just to watch it, like man, like I said, that's got to go up there for fight of the year candidate, right? In terms of two guys going at it, obviously you have
Action packed.
obviously you have like a guy like Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, which you know because it's all tainted because of the PEDs, but without the PEDs, maybe that would have been like a performance of the year kind of thing from Ryan, right? But both of these
Yeah.
guys really went in there and laid it on the line, and they were just matching each other's output for the most part. You know what I mean? So definitely fight of the year candidate. If you didn't see it, make sure you go back and check that one out. But
Yeah, for sure.
now, like I said, people are screaming robbery. It was a close fight. Like I said, if I had to choose, I definitely think just based on the way I was tallying it up, I don't have my paper in front of me, but I scored more points for Boachuk. And I really think the knockdowns were the difference maker. And it's going to depend if you scored them 10-8 or 9-8, right? But yeah, I think that's a tough one. And there was some rumblings afterwards about like a rematch. But just from my personal standpoint, I don't think Virgil's going to rematch that guy. How do you feel about a rematch?
I don't think he's gonna rematch him either. I think they underestimated him as a fighter, and I don't think they really knew what they were getting themselves into until they got into the ring and they realized, like, yeah, we're buying up more than we can chew here. And
Yeah,
to go into another fight like that, where potentially they may not necessarily win,
yeah.
they don't want to risk it.
And 154 is notorious for this, bro. Like they haven't had that one mega star, even though Jamel
I would
did
say
become
Jamel was probably
Jamel did become undisputed. I wouldn't say he was a mega star though, but I do think he had separated himself as the best person in the division. But they
right.
didn't have like that one mega star where it's like people are like, I can't miss this person fight. I got to tune in. So I think they kind of flew a little bit under the radar. But
Okay.
those guys at 154 been tough for years, bro. They've been tough, and it's been like a gauntlet, right? You had people thought Jared Hurd was that guy. J
Yep.
Rock came and knocked them off. You know what I'm saying? J Rock was stopped back in the days by Big Charlo, but then J Rock comes out and lose to what's the dude's name? Rosario, who then
Zario.
Charlo stops with the body
Who got
shot.
stopped?
But
Yeah.
but but
But
Charlo,
Rosario beat J. Yeah, that was crazy. I'm not gonna lie, you're
you
right.
know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
Charlo and Castano have two hellacious fights. You know what I mean?
And
Um,
Charlo lost to Tony Harrison, right? So it's not like
yeah,
these
and came
guys
back and
aren't.
avenged it. So, bro,
Yeah.
that division has notably had tough guys. We're not even mentioning Lubin and Fundora. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's been like that. Like I said, it hasn't had that box office draw name. So I think it kind of flew under the radar. But this division has been having tough fighters, and none of them really been walking the park.
Yeah.
So I say that to say Boachuk. Gosh, well, I'm forgetting the dude's name right now. That Crawford fought.
Oh, Israel.
Yeah,
Madrimov.
Israel Madrimov. So Israel Madrimov, Serhii Bohachuk. They're just adding to what 154 has already had, right? The tough guys. You might not know the name, but it's no cakewalks. You know what I'm saying? But it does feel a little bit like a business move, right? So Turkey Al-Ashish was there. We're going to get into that in a second. But he was talking about, he wants to make Virgil Crawford. And I don't even know if Virgil really wants that fight, right? Because when they were at 147, they were calling Crawford out. And it's like, yeah, he said he wanted Crawford. He called out some other guys as well. I think he's probably just trying to get to that next level and get that big fight and try to become a household name because I think he mentioned Fundora Spence. And let's say hypothetically, right, Spence beats Fundora, and if
Mhm.
Vergil goes in there and knock off Spence, that probably catapults him to where he wants to be. You know what I mean? You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Obviously, if he goes and beats Crawford, that catapults him too. So I
Yeah.
think he's just trying to get that next level and take that next step in his career.
Yep.
But no two fights are the same, but just based on the performance, I think Terrence Crawford fight will be really tough.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
think we all got Terrence Crawford winning that fight, but
Yeah. The only thing I can say is like Terrence definitely has the tools to put him away, right? But let's not discredit Bohachuk now. He was a tough, sturdy guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying Terrence is not sturdy, but what if Bohachuk is able to hold up against Virgil's power better than Terrence can, right? Once again, I'm not picking Virgil to beat Terrence. I'm just saying, just
yeah,
because of what we saw there, don't up necessarily means it's going to look the exact same in this other fight is the only point I'm trying to make. You know what I mean?
very true. Very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to see what's next for Vergil. I'm not going to knock him. He didn't look super confident either after he didn't look like a guy that knew that he won that fight. But like I said, it might be the business move.